Sami Callihan, what's the situation with Sami Callihan's contract with Impact Wrestling? Because I've been doing a little bit of digging, and Sami Callihan's contract with Impact Wrestling is set to expire sooner than I think people are aware of. Now, it was in 2019 that Sami Callihan revealed that he'd signed a new contract with Impact Wrestling after it was the same situation last year that his contract was going to be up soon. He said, quote, "I signed with Impact Wrestling until next December 2020, but that's not on my mind right now. My mind is being one of the full forces behind saving Impact Wrestling, and I think they've done that." So it would mean that Sami Callihan at this point of time right now has 2 months left on his contract. It's going to expire in December of this year. We're in, 3 months left on his contract, really. It's September right now, so it's going to expire in 3 months' time in December. Likely to end at the end of the year. When I say December, I don't mean the start of December. It's likely going to be December 31st, I would have thought. Sami Callihan's a big deal on the Impact Wrestling roster. He's a former Impact World Champion. Until recently, he's been prominently featured on the show. He's been tag teaming with Ken Shamrock over the summer. That was after feuding with Ken Shamrock, right? They had the angle with the fireball, and then they became bitter enemies turned tag team partners as they faced the North for the Impact World Tag Team Championship in July at Slammiversary. After that, he kind of disappeared for a while. He wasn't on Impact TV for a little bit. He then returned with the ICU hacker gimmick, which he kind of did in NXT, that whole hacking angle, but it's a different approach now, to be honest, in Impact Wrestling. So recently, he's been feuding with Rob Van Dam and Katie Forbes after he had that segment where Katie Forbes was going to reveal her latest calendar on her website, and Sami Callihan hacked into that, put his face on all of her pictures, his pro wrestling guys. So what's he been doing now? Well, not a lot. As I mentioned, he's been feuding with RVD. He had the Impact World Championship match against Eddie Edwards recently on Impact Wrestling 2, which he lost. But apart from that, it's felt like a bit like he's in the background, he's in the periphery. As I mentioned, he has been feuding with Rob Van Dam, and I've enjoyed their matches and I've enjoyed their feud. But at this point, as we're going towards Bound for Glory is next month. It's October 24th. We're in September right now. We're about 5 weeks away from Bound for Glory. Arguably, Impact Wrestling's traditionally its biggest show of the year. Maybe not this year, since I think Slammiversary was just so huge for Impact Wrestling. But what is he doing going into Bound for Glory? And the answer is not a lot. I don't know. As far as I'm aware, I don't know what the plans are for Sami Callihan as we go into Bound for Glory. Fightful a couple of weeks ago released the report of the potential card for Bound for Glory, and he wasn't a name that was involved on there. Ken Shamrock, his former tag team partner, was rumoured at the time to be facing Eddie Edwards for the World Championship. I've mentioned here previously on the channel that I think those plans have changed now since the Impact World Championship has been moved to Eric Young, and Ken Shamrock versus Eddie Edwards. I don't know if that match is still planned, if that's still happening. I don't know. I would assume so, because it feels like Ken Shamrock and Impact Wrestling, you've got to give him something to do. But Eddie Edwards is still heavily featured into this Eric Young storyline with Rich Swann. His wife confronted Eric Young last week on Impact Wrestling and said to Eric Young, he's going to come back at you. So Eddie Edwards is still factored in there. So going back to Sami Callihan, what's he doing at this point? What plans are there? And I don't know. I really don't know, because a lot of the time with pro wrestling, for better or for worse, you can kind of tell a lot of the time where they are going. If you've watched pro wrestling for a while, and myself, I've been watching it for about 20 years now, since I was a kid, you can read the tea leaves per se, and you can kind of see, okay, this is where they're going with this person, this is what they're setting up here, this is what they're doing. Sami Callihan, at this point, I really don't know. I really don't know what plans are in store for him for Bound for Glory. I don't know where he's going and what direction his character's going in right now. So I'm not really sure. And I do think his contract status factors into this. And don't get me wrong, Sami Callihan, I think, has a lot to offer Impact Wrestling. I know some people aren't the biggest fan of Sami Callihan, maybe because the way he looks and maybe the way he talks. I think that's the best thing about him, is that he doesn't look like other people. He doesn't talk like other people. He doesn't work like other people. In professional wrestling, success is by being unique. Success is being different. You don't want everyone to be the same. And Sami Callihan certainly isn't like most people. So I think he still has a lot to offer. I think there's still a lot they can explore with the Sami Callihan character in Impact Wrestling. As far as I'm aware, he's very well liked at Impact Wrestling. The locker room likes him. The executive likes him. He's got credibility on the Impact Wrestling roster. As I mentioned, he's a former Impact World Champion. So not only has he got credibility from the people in the back, but he's also got credibility with the fans. And I think it's really important for people on Impact Wrestling to have former world champions on the show, not to be a world champion and then they go to another company. You want to build up that block of people that have history in Impact Wrestling. That's been one of the great things about Eric Young recently. He's got so much history with the company, and the longer you can keep them there and you can keep this history with them going, it just benefits the show, because as a fan, you're more invested in the character, you know the character well. So I think he still has a lot to offer Impact Wrestling, and he certainly has a lot of credibility on the Impact roster. I think the reason why we haven't seen much of him recently on Impact TV, and like I said, we have seen him involved in the feud with RVD and that kind of stuff, but not to the extent of where he was before. Support for Wrestle News 365 is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Now, Manscaped, for all of my UK fans out there, Manscaped just launched in the UK. Over here in the United Kingdom, we have gone for years and years and years without using the right tools for the job. But now you can be one of the first men in England to experience their life-changing product. But it's not just limited to all of the great fans over here in the UK. This offer goes worldwide, so all of my friends over in America and around the world that are listening to this offer still does apply for you. You can still use our code. But I've got to tell you a quick story first. Now, there have been so many times, right? I'm a guy. You gotta groom down there, fellas, right? That's the most important thing. You gotta keep yourself trimmed. You gotta keep yourself proper. And a lot of the time, I've been guilty of this, of using the wrong tools for the job. I've had incidences, I'm not afraid to say it, where things have been nicked, snagged, or in fact cut down there because I wasn't being careful enough and using the right equipment. Now that just shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. You don't want to be worrying about cutting yourself down there. Do you know how painful that is? I can tell you, it hurts quite a lot. And I wish and hope to God it never happens to me again, and it won't happen to me ever again because I'm using Manscaped products. That's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team has perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. Big statement, but it's absolutely true. They have just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 in the UK. It's also available around the world as well. Their third generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. So those cuts and snags that I was telling you about before are a thing of the past. And let me tell you, when I tell you this is premium, I mean premium. The battery will last up to 90 minutes so you can get a longer, perfect shave. And not only that, you don't want to be cutting yourself and trimming yourself all over the bathroom, getting hair all over the place. That's just disgusting. The lawnmower has a waterproof technology that allows you to groom in the shower, so no more mess. And one of the coolest features, one of my favorite features about the lawnmower is the LED light, which illuminates grooming areas for a closer and more precise trimming experience. So you can shave longer, you can shave more precisely, and you can shave in the shower. What more did I need to tell you? They've also upgraded to a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology, and let's not forget about the charging stand. You can show off your mower loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a convenient charging dock powered by USB. So, if you are listening to me speak right now, I want you to experience it firsthand for yourself. Let's get that bush to tush clean, and you can get 20% off and free shipping. Yeah, you heard me right there. 20% off and free shipping. All you have to do is use the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. Make your testies their besties. That's 20% off and free shipping. Not only are you getting 20% off, you're getting free shipping as well with the code 365wrestle at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the code 365wrestle. Your balls will thank you. Is probably Impact Wrestling just being a bit hesitant. You're not going to give this guy a huge push and be all over the television show if you don't know if he's going to re-sign. I think personally, you know me, I'm a huge fan of Eric Young at the moment. I think he's the top guy in the company right now, not just because he's the world champion, but I think even prior to that, his performances recently, his promos recently, his character work in Impact Wrestling ever since he returned in ever since he returned in July at Slammiversary, I think he's been phenomenal. And I think you look at someone like Sami Callihan and his character and Eric Young's character, I think Sami Callihan would be the perfect opponent for Eric Young. I really do. You've got Eric Young as the world-class maniac, and then you've got Sami Callihan as this sort of off-the-wall hacker, a bit crazy himself, calls himself the Draw. I think that's a money match. I think that's a money feud. And I really do think he's the perfect foil to someone like Eric Young. Eric Young works so well with so many wrestlers, the likes of Rich Swann and Eddie Edwards with that underdog-style babyface, but also you've got complete opposite. You've got this maniacal guy who's a hacker and he calls himself the Draw. That would work perfect opposite someone like Eric Young. It'd just be absolutely perfect, like I said. So I think all of that, though, that potential future showdown with Eric Young and those future matches and future feuds, it all depends ultimately is if he wants to stay with Impact Wrestling. He has great history with the promotion. He won the title, the Impact World Championship, on the first episode of Impact on Access TV, defeating Brian Cage inside a cage. So he's got a ton of history there. Of course, he was part of the match that crowned the first women's world champion in a male-dominated sport. And even though Impact won't really want to mention the name Tessa Blanchard, he was part of history there and he did the job there, which, to be honest, credit to him, because even in 2020, you know for a fact some guys would have a problem with doing that, which is ridiculous, but Sami Callihan didn't. That's the kind of worker that Sami Callihan is. He wants to do what's best for the program and best for the promotion, which is why he's so well liked backstage at Impact Wrestling. So to me, it's a no-brainer for him to stay. And not only because of what he's done in Impact Wrestling and his history with the promotion, but you also have to weigh up the other options that Sami Callihan could have here. And if you look at his options, not wanting to sound critical of Sami Callihan or his past, there isn't a lot really that he can choose from. Is he going to go back to NXT and WWE? That's not going to happen. He's not going back there. He hated it in NXT. He said so himself. It didn't work for him there. He didn't get on with the likes of Triple H, who runs NXT, and he felt he was worth more. NXT didn't release him. He requested his release from the promotion because he felt he could do more and he wanted to do more. And obviously those in WWE and NXT didn't see it in him. So he left WWE and NXT. And at this point, with the guys that we have seen go from Impact to WWE or from the Indies to WWE, at this point, would you really want to go to WWE and NXT? I'm not sure that you would. You look at the guys that went there, like EC3 and the Good Brothers from Impact Wrestling. I know the Good Brothers have just come into Impact, but from outside the company, it didn't work out. It didn't work out, and they've almost got horror stories now. So I don't think Sami Callihan would ever want to go back there. MLW, that's not happening because how it ended there, it didn't end on the best terms. So again, that's not happening. AEW, of course, Sami Callihan could go to AEW. He absolutely could go to AEW. The money that he could get there might be better. Realistically, though, is that probably the best thing for him? Is he going to stand out of the crowd in AEW? The answer is no. The answer is no, he's not going to stand out of the crowd in AEW. Is he going to be booked better in AEW than he's being booked in Impact Wrestling or has been booked in Impact Wrestling over the last 18 months? No, he's not. He's not, because he's not going to stand out of the crowd because that roster is so stacked with talent. And again, no slight to Sami Callihan, but they've got other priorities. Is he going to become a world champion in AEW? Absolutely not. He just isn't. You've got Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, Cody, Brody Lee, a multitude of names at the top of that card. Miro's just come in, who I think is going to be a future AEW world champion. So if Sami Callihan goes over to AEW, is he going to be a world champion? No. He just isn't. He will be portrayed and has been portrayed as a bigger star than anywhere else in Impact Wrestling. In Impact Wrestling, he's a former world champion, and he absolutely has the potential to become world champion once again. I have no doubt about that. So if I was him and I was weighing up my options, I would say, well, NXT, no. MLW, no. AEW, I could. I don't know if there's interest from AEW, but I could. But is that really the best for my career? No, I don't think it is. He could go to Japan and work in New Japan, work in those California shows, or if he travels to Japan, he's got a quarantine for 2 weeks, but it's possible. But again, I don't think that's probably the right call for him right now. I think he's exactly where he needs to be and should be right now, and that's Impact Wrestling. So realistically, right now, it's just a case if he resigns or not. It's just a case if he resigns or not. We haven't, to be honest, we're making this video now, but we haven't heard much news about it, to be honest with you. But we will soon. I'm sure we will soon. If you've got 3 months left on your contract, and Sami Callihan, who's a big name in Impact Wrestling and a big part of the roster, we will hear soon some form of information about it, I have no doubt. But I think at this point, if you're 3 months out of the contract expiring, Impact, at the very, very, very least, thought about it, and I would be stunned if they haven't reached out to Sami, had some feelers there, and at least had preliminary discussions about, okay, you thinking about re-upping? We want to keep you. Do you want to stay here? To me, it's a non-brainer. It's a no-brainer. They have to keep Sami Callihan in Impact Wrestling. He's a fundamental part of their roster, and he has been. He's an Impact Wrestling guy. I'd consider him to be an Impact Wrestling guy now. That's the roster I would associate with him, and I think it's the right move for him to stay. And also, you have to look at the lay of the land with other contracts right now. We know that Ethan Page's contract is expiring at the end of the year too. On January 1st, 2021, Ethan Page of the North is a free agent. We don't know what the deal is with Ethan Page. Is he going to re-sign? Is he going to go to AEW and be a single star? Is he going to sign and still be a single star in Impact Wrestling? Are they going to continue the North? Because Josh Alexander, of course, he's contracted till 2022 or 2021. Either way, Josh Alexander isn't going anywhere anytime soon. So if you're Impact Wrestling, if I'm Scott D'Amore, if I'm Don Callis, Impact Wrestling Executive Vice Presidents right now, I'm looking at the Sami Callihan situation, and I'm looking at Ethan Page. I'm looking at their contracts expiring at the end of the year, and I'm saying to myself, you don't want to lose two guys who, over the last 18 months, where Impact Wrestling's reputation, and to be honest, even longer than that, but the reputation over the last 18 months and the success over the last 18 months has been slowly building, especially since the move to Access TV. You don't want to lose that. And Ethan Page, as part of the North, and Sami Callihan, being the world champion, have been fundamental and synonymous to Impact Wrestling's success over the last 18 months. And you don't want to lose that. I know they've got a load of new guys coming in and have come in, whether it's EC3, which I believe is a short-term deal, so he's not exactly locked down. Heath, I think he's going to be there for a while, but again, he's not exactly locked down. You've got Eric Young, who's back with the company. That's good. But there's so much there right now that we know the Good Brothers there for 2 years, but you can't lose these guys, I don't think, because they've been responsible for building Impact Wrestling back up. They've been part of that journey, and I think, one, they should be rewarded for doing so, but if they are let go, then that's part of the identity that you've built with Impact Wrestling over the last few years gone too, and it would be two big losses if they go. So I do think Sami Callihan will re-sign with the company, because I just don't see a better option realistically for him right now, and I think it makes the most sense for him to stay with Impact Wrestling. As far as Ethan Page, I've made a video on it here on the channel. We haven't heard much about it since then, and I'm sure he's weighing up several options, because I know there is interest from, of course, Impact and re-signing, but there's also interest from AEW. They are interested. Cody's interested in him. But also WWE and NXT are interested in Ethan Page too. He's very in demand because of his work, his promos, and the way he looks at the moment. So I don't know about Ethan Page. As far as Sami Callihan, I think he has to. I think he has to re-sign, and I think Impact Wrestling will do what's necessary to make that happen. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts? Do you think Sami Callihan will re-sign with Impact Wrestling when his contract expires at the end of the year? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Really enjoy chatting with you guys and talking all about Impact Wrestling. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll be sure to respond to you guys. If you've enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button as well. Really just helps out here on YouTube, go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos before. So please smash a like on the like button. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.